The CCP is using a fifth column operation to attack America, and today I'm gonna prove it, revealing that Xi Jinping has already started his war with America, beginning right in the center of the United States.
Drama, my favorite.
Real talk. Minnesota is likely at the epicenter of the American Civil War 2.0, and it's all been designed by Xi Jinping. By the time you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it with everyone you know, and stuck around to the end, I will have proven it to you all.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
So, you know what it is, 准备你的爆米花 and also your detective hats, because for this episode, for real, 真的是代誌大條咯。So, the Minnesota Twin Cities versus ICE situation is escalating really fast. Civilians are arming themselves, attacking innocent bystanders on the street, stealing weapons, all in preparation for war with the US federal government. 事情真的很大条咯。
You're in trouble now.
Shit, it almost seems like the local Minnesota government is trying to separate themselves from the United States. It almost seems like they're encouraging it.
And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street. To stand.
We're here to arrest a child offender. And you guys are out here honking. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
Won't no ICE agent ever run up on me. I guarantee you they won't. I'll put a hole in their chest the size of a window. That's what's gonna happen if they touch me.
Walz is like invoking, calling this a civil war, calling the ICE officer a rogue officer, and saying that National Guard are gonna come in and like almost like get ICE out of here, which does sound like a civil war. But to me, when I visited the protest site, this is what was very apparent to me. Protesters are blockading the streets so that like normal drivers cannot drive down that road. They've blocked a couple blocks off. This is not police putting in barricades. This is not like any type of law enforcement doing that, National Guard. This is protesters. There are also people wearing like fluorescent vests directing traffic. These are just random passersby, and they are being like barked orders at by people who look like they're official. They're wearing like kind of official vests, telling them where to go. Once they cleared enough cars, they brought in this big van, and this van had supplies in it that they were unloading.
Now here's the thing, all these political activist groups, they are all very well organized. Now, although they might have slightly different methods and objectives and even slightly different ideals, right now they have formed a coalition, and they only have one objective, to联盟吊打美国政府. From ICE legal observers to anti-ICE activists to Black Lives Matter, they are all working towards the same goal, to cause chaos and fuck up the feds. And they operate like an organized militia. Some use peaceful protests, some actively block ICE, some track and dox ICE, and some use violence. And they even have their own SOP.
1. Our solidarity will be based on respect for a diversity of tactics and the plans of other groups. 2. The actions and tactics used will be organized to maintain a separation of time or space. 3. Any debates or criticisms will stay internal to the movement, avoiding any public or media denunciations of fellow activists and events. 4. We oppose any state repression of dissent, including surveillance, infiltration, disruption, and violence. We agree not to assist law enforcement actions against activists and others.
Basic translation, if I do bad, don't you dare call me out in public, and vice versa. Let's keep our goddamn mouths shut. Just like the first fool of Fight Club.
You do not talk about Fight Club.
This is just like a gang principle. Snitches get stitches. Now here you have 6 major groups working together. The Party for Socialism and Liberation, Freedom Road Socialist Organization, MIRAC, the People's Action Coalition Against Trump, the People's Forum, and Answer Coalition. Out of these 6, 4 of them are all heavily sponsored by one man, Neville Roy Singham. I pulled up Perplexity and asked it to give me a behind-the-scenes look at who exactly funds the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And one name came up, Neville Roy Singham.
The Bride, director of protest movement Code Pink, has a long history in extremist left-wing public activism. The groom, though a multi-millionaire software mogul, is a radical Maoist who cut his teeth affiliating with various radical Marxist-Leninist groups in Detroit. They are marshalling their considerable resources of networks do the bidding of some of the most anti-Western forces on Earth.
Code Pink, 小粉红密码. This is probably the least code name I've ever seen. Almost sounds like an SOD Die Hall. Turns out, back in 2017, Singham moved to Shanghai, and during Trump's first term, he was a lead technology strategic advisor for Huawei. Now, over half a year ago, we made a video about Neville Roy Singham, which you can check out in the link down below. The thing is, all this time while all this stuff was going down, Neville was living in Shanghai. Have a look at this photo. This photo is from 2023. Those of you who can't read Chinese, all you need to do is pay attention to the English. CPC International Image Innovation Forum. Now, some of you might be wondering what the heck does CPC have to do with the CCP? Well, all they did was switch the C and the P. They are the exact same thing, which means Neville Roy Singham, an American, is at a fucking CCP meeting. He's part of their gang.
Our cover story is about a man who has been accused of waging a war in India. It's a fireless war. It's a war of narrative, a war of misinformation and disinformation. And Beijing's foot soldier in this war is Neville Roy Singham. A New York Times investigation has accused him of spending millions of dollars in India in order to spread pro-China propaganda. Raids previously have led Indian authorities to Singham. Neville Roy Singham is an American, but he sits thousands of miles away in Shanghai, close to the Chinese seat of power, running his large network of propaganda machines masquerading as shell companies and NGOs.
Now, if you ask me, Neville Roy Singham is 100% a foreign agent for the CCP. The Indian government already proved as such and kicked his ass out of the country. And now he is funding all of the Minnesota anti-ICE protests and anti-federal government chaos.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
But hey, don't take it from me. Take it from the words of someone way more credible.
Foreign interests work aggressively to shape U.S. policy to their benefit. Based on FARA disclosures, China has spent at least $418 million to influence American politics since 2016, more than any other country. With this in mind, I write to you regarding the People's Forum and Code Pink's potential obligation to register under FARA, based on reported connections with Neville Roy Singham, the People's Republic of China, PRC, and the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Despite being a United States citizen, Neville Roy Singham is reportedly domiciled in Shanghai. It's also been reported that Mr. Singham works closely with the Chinese government media machine and is financing its propaganda worldwide. According to reports, since 2017, Singham has been the People's Forum's main financial contributor. According to reports, Singham and his wife, a Code Pink founder, Jody Evans, donated over $20.4 million to the People's Forum from 2017 to 2022 through a series of shell organizations and donor advisory groups, accounting for nearly all of the group's funding.
And I remind you, 这个不是我说的哦，这是美国政府自己说的哦。And some of you might be thinking,
唢呐，但是他不是住上海10几年吗？他怎么可以在美国做这种事情？不可能没代志啦，他根本不住那里呀。
That's a good point. Now, you have to remember in that letter, they mention a lot of groups, but there's one in particular that stands out. TPF, the People's Forum. So I went to their website, and interestingly enough, I found one face very familiar. This is David Chung, born in South Korea, raised in the United States, and I've actually seen him before.
Bro, they're paying you $80K a year to protest? Is that wrong? Is that wrong? Tell me if it's wrong.
No comment.
This is David getting arrested at these protests. Now, the police do their job, but very quickly he's let out and back on the street to protest.
What about this school for socialism that you guys are doing? That seems interesting, right?
Yeah, you should join.
But by far the best thing about David is that he's a vicious anti-capitalist that works for a billionaire.
This is how you can tell I spend way too much time on the internet, because I recognize this fool from videos on X. And here's the real kicker. It turns out David is actually an employee of Neville Roy Singham.
Chung is the general manager of a protest group called the People's Forum, and if you dig through their tax documents, you'll find that David Chung gets paid $75,000 a year to protest.
So he's the organizing director for Singham's TPF, and when it comes to anti-ICE, pro-Palestine, and BLM, he is at every single protest. So I did some digging. And it turns out he actually owns and operates a very influential NGO known as the Justice and Education Fund. I wonder what they're about. Well, according to his U.S. tax returns,
to raise awareness through education and dissemination of information about pressing problems of society
and how to affect social change.
I think I can smell shite.
The organization also provides funding to other charitable organizations
and foreign organizations
that support the organization's mission, specifically through issuing grants to support the education, training,
and mobilization of marginalized communities
and environmentally protective manner, to developing self-confidence and leadership skills in youth, which encourage their civic engagement.
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
Now let me wrap all this up for you and make it clear. The most active anti-ICE protest groups in Minnesota are all currently being funded by Neville Roy Singham. It's been proven already. And his employee, David Chung, is using his organization, JEF, to operate, train, and fund these protests, all to fight the federal government and cause complete chaos in the middle of America. The result? Completely destabilizing an American city. This is some straight up fifth column shit, yo.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.
But don't take my word for it. Take it from the words of a US congressman who's way more credible than me.
We saw it in the protests that were pro-Maduro, supposedly, where everyone showed up with the exact same protest sign, paid for by individuals largely based out of China. There's a real concern here that we have a vivid fifth column approaching on U.S. shores that are trying to advance a pro-Beijing agenda.
Turns out, back in 2023, all the U.S. Republican congressmen and congresswomen, Marco Rubio included, knew about this fifth column operation. And they've been trailing David Chung, his JEF organization, and his links to the CCP for a long minute. Yeah, then Senator Marco Rubio even wrote a letter to the Department of Justice asking to investigate this.
He has created an elaborate dark money network, which allows him to send funds to a series of nonprofits, such as the United Community Fund and
Justice and Education Fund,
that have almost no real-world footprints. Nonprofit filings show that nearly $1.8 million flowed from these nonprofits to Chinese media company Maku Group. Maku's website shows young people gathering in Mr. Singham's office, facing a red banner that reads,
"Always follow the party,"
with an image of General Secretary of the CCP, Xi Jinping, in the background.
Now, it ain't no secret that the CCP loves to use civil organizations, companies, and fishing boats to lay cover for their military aggression. So this Shanghai Maku group actually showed up in David Chung's tax returns not once, but twice, revealing that David Chung's Justice and Education Fund, NGO, paid nearly $4 million to the Shanghai Maku Group over a 2-year period. Now, if I got it right, as soon as Marco Rubio can prove that Shanghai Maku works at the instruction of the CCP, and that in turn David is an agent of the CCP, that would mean that he is actively breaking US law. And it would also prove that the CCP is running a fifth column operation on US soil. Now, I could be wrong, but that sounds like a goddamn act of war. So, this Shanghai Maku Group is the key link to prove the CCP connection and Minnesota protests are an actual fifth column operation. And here's the thing, after 2023, the Shanghai Maku Group website completely disappeared off the internet. And I had to use 4 AI models, 3 search engines, Weibo and Baidu to find their shit. And there's another thing that's very important. That picture that Marco Rubio and several other US congressmen mentioned in their letters actually proves their claims that the entire Shanghai Maku company was indoctrinated by the CCP. So this picture is extremely important. One might even conclude that the US Congress needs this photo in order to prove that the Maku Group is being directed and influenced by the CCP. But after Rubio's letter and the New York Times article exposing the group and Neville Roy Singham, that website and the picture completely disappeared.
A few moments later.
Here's why I present even more proof that black man can go deep. 把最深的东西挖出来给你看。我跟你讲起来 In 2026, I'm straight up on my GBU arc. Giant black unit, son. Now, what you're looking at is a downloaded archive of the entire Shanghai Maku Group's website. And I actually downloaded it and put it in PDF format. And there are 3 key pictures that you need to see. Now, this first picture shows a group of employees giving a thumbs up and smiling for the camera. And if you zoom into the back, you can actually see a photo of several interesting figures. But the most interesting one is the guy in the middle, who looks exactly like Mao Zedong. But hey, maybe they're just fans of this guy. Having a picture in an office in Shanghai doesn't mean that you cooperate with the CCP, right? Which brings me to my second photo. You see the guy on the right holding the red envelope? That is Xiong Jie. This is the guy who created the company Shanghai Maku. And remember, that company shares the exact same office space with Neville Roy Singham. It also turns out that Xiong Jie was a former employee of Neville Roy Singham at his first company, ThoughtWorks. And it turns out that Xiong Jie was not only educated at the East China Normal University, which is directly controlled by the CCP, but that this same university signed a multimedia deal with his company, Shanghai Maku. But hey, everyone knows that a lot of universities in China are state-controlled. That doesn't mean that Shanghai Maku is working for the CCP, right? Which is why you need to look at the third and final picture. And remember what Marco Rubio explicitly said in that letter?
Maku's website shows young people gathering in Mr. Singham's office, facing a red banner that reads,
"Always follow the party,"
with an image of General Secretary of the CCP, Xi Jinping, in the background.
It says crystal fucking clear, 永远跟党走, which means always follow the party. And in China, there's only one party. Fuck. So, let's connect all these dots together. Number 1, the Shanghai Maku Company is a CCP propaganda media arm posing as a civil media company. 2, David Chung, who serves as the TPS organizing director, is the boots-on-the-ground operator for all the anti-ICE protests and anti-Fed chaos destabilizing the Twin Cities. 3, his NGO, the Justice Education Fund, paid $4 million to the CCP-operated Maku propaganda media company. And last but not least, all of this money is funded by an American agent for the CCP, Neville Roy Singham. Now using the pictures, letters, tax refunds, and even the videos to back it up. Bruh, this is a fifth column operation going down on US soil. A straight up act of war.
Goddamn right.
This ain't no conspiracy theory, yo. This is a proven conspiracy happening right before your very eyes. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this video is going to get suppressed by the YouTube Shanghai Inspection Office for monetization. Shit, 这支影片可能会被黄标欸. Which is why, if you've reached the end of this video, make sure you share it with every single person you know. Shit, if any of you know Marco Rubio, share it with him too. I want to see my 茶叶蛋头 up in a congressional hearing. Make it happen, son.
Do it. Do it! Come on! Do it now!
Before that, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.
Don't trust China. China is asshole.